and welcome to Horror Rewind. This is Kelly Florence,
And I'm Meg Hostel.
and today we're talking about the sixth episode of the Twilight Zone called 6 Degrees of Freedom. It's the sixth episode now, right?
Yeah, no, it doesn't seem like that much time has passed, but I guess it really is the sixth episode. Yeah, I think you're right.
And this obviously is reminiscent of The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. They've got some nice winks to it. It was written by Glenn Morgan and Heather Ann Campbell and directed by Jacob Verbruggen, who also directed an episode of Black Mirror I saw.
Oh,
So it's nice. They're getting some people in that have some interesting credits, but aren't necessarily, so well established that they don't need this little boost from the Twilight Zone, which is cool.
yeah, this is for me. I don't know about you, but this is the first episode where there wasn't a recognizable actor to me. So I was like, I didn't know any of these actors, which I thought was kind of cool. Lately, it was like, oh my gosh, there's these amazing people, and so this one I felt like, again, same thing where it was like some people who maybe, I don't know, aren't as famous.
Right. Yeah. I recognize Jessica Williams, but then the one guy, because they had those like helmet things on in the beginning, I'm like, he looks like Archie from Riverdale. So then
Oh,
I looked him up, and he was on Riverdale, and
oh,
he's also on the X-Files. So
oh, well, sorry, dude.
yeah, that's okay. But and
Well,
then
Jessica Williams, what is she from then? I don't.
she was on the Daily Show or something.
Oh, okay, okay,
And
all
and
right.
then and then I went down this rabbit hole and realized, oh, they're filming in Vancouver because these are all Vancouver people.
Oh, yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. Riverdale and X-Files is also yeah, I figured there were some episodes earlier on the Twilight Zone where I was like, this just feels like Vancouver to me, so that makes sense. So I liked the initial setup. I really liked I'm always more like a horror girl than a sci-fi girl, but Twilight Zone's always brought sci-fi into like a realm that I really enjoy, and so this wasn't any different. This like felt like a really good setup, and I like the whole idea of like humanity's dying and now we're taking off. What did you think right away?
Yeah, it was what a great premise. And I mean, I guess for me, I mean, they have this choice to make if they stay and try to help humanity or do something, but I mean, they take off, and I guess, faced with that, I guess I would do the same thing, although it's not really much of a choice. You're just like they said, it's a slow suicide. Now,
Yeah.
have you read the Martian Chronicles lately? Like that's a similar premise, isn't it?
Oh God, not lately. I mean, I read it in college, and I very much enjoyed it. But I obviously I loved that it's called Bradbury and the ship and everything, or was it the mission called Bradbury, the ship called Bradbury
Yeah.
something. But you know, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I mean, it's about the colonization of Mars by us humans, and I mean, obviously, there's like a lot of apropos things about sort of like us destroying our planet and needing another planet, which is interesting because that was stuff they explored back when Bradbury was writing. But also in the original Twilight Zone, it was kind of like we were already like freaking out about how we were treating our planet, but not to the degree where we've actually done anything about it. But
Right.
it's interesting to see that that's like still a problem today, and it's actually getting worse. And so it's even more of like a sobering reality that they're kind of like showing. This was about nuclear war and stuff, but I think it's interesting how 40, 50 years later, it's like still some of the same problems.
Yes, absolutely. I at one point, even before the guy started speculating about it, I'm like, oh, what if this is like a simulation, and what if it is a test?
Oh,
And then when he was seeing the little image and he was noticing the things, he was a little bit unhinged. And I'm like, oh, actually, maybe this is a commentary on how the scariest things in this world are actually the people among us, because
mm,
he's could have been. I mean, it could have been a lot worse what happened. I mean, obviously it all there's the twist or multiple twists, but really, I mean, is there anything scarier than somebody on your crew becoming unhinged and maybe taking some people out?
Yeah, no, that is terrifying. And I just kept thinking about, like, how much I would hate being in that situation. Like, being in a enclosed environment with my coworkers for 8 months. Like, that is a horror Twilight Zone in itself. Can you imagine?
No, that would be the worst with anybody. Like even with like
Yeah,
people
even
you
my
like.
loved ones. Yeah, like that would be. And so I think they did a good job of, like, showing too, like, sort of like them sort of missing, the actual world. I mean, at one point they have some people have sex with each other and they're not even allowed to do that. Like, it was just like, okay, this is that alone would be terrible. But yeah, I mean, he starts kind of acting unhinged, and I didn't. That's cool that you were thinking about it, like, oh, could this be like a simulation? Because I didn't think that way. But as soon as he said it, I was like, whoa, like, it kind of brought you to that, like, mind blown place of Twilight Zone that I like to go to. And then when he leaves, you don't know, which I thought was really cool, and then it builds up our paranoia as the audience.
Yes, I love that they didn't show what happened to him. And then there's that
Mhm.
double twist because, it really is the aliens doing this test on the humans and saying, "Okay, we'll visit them now because yeah, they're willing apparently to destroy their planet." Uh,
Yep. It was really good, and, like, it had that kind of twist in it that I wanted for, like, the Stephen Yun episode, where I felt like the twist wasn't, like, hard enough. And, like, I felt like this, like, had some, like, when they show him laying in kind of that, I don't know, I think they called it the rift or the, not sure, but basically, when they show him kind of in this alien expanse, it was like, you kind of got that, like, physical feeling, like, whoa, that's so cool, and again, like, mind blown. And so I thought they achieved that really well.
yeah, I agree. I thought it was enjoyable. I think it was a good uh, group of people, like interesting, different types of people that made it believable, like that they would be stuck together here and maybe not
Yeah.
necessarily get along. So, yeah, I enjoyed
Yeah,
it.
and yeah, I did too. And, like, again, representation. I thought they did a good job of, like, the woman in charge is, African American, and she's lesbian, and so I feel like they're being very aware and very purposeful and making sure that they do better than obviously the original Twilight Zone at that. And I don't know. I thought there were times where I was like, I don't know where this is going, but I liked that, and I liked that I didn't know who to trust. And I think there's something about, and I know that some of these actors, like, are more recognizable to other people, but for me anyway, I kind of like the idea that I didn't know them, because then I didn't know, like, who to trust or who. Sometimes when it's, like, somebody, like, super famous, then you assume that the plot's going to go in a certain way or something. But
Right.
in this way, it was just, like, open to anything could happen.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point because yeah, I agree. Oh, so next week, oh my gosh, did you watch the preview? It looks amazing.
Yes,
Not all men
I not all men. It looks amazing. It has, like, Ike Barinholtz and Rhea Seehorn and, like, amazing people in it.
and Tysa
And
Vermiga.
yes, it's it for me. And oh my God, it just looked. I mean, it looked like it's gonna be enjoyable. And I mean, it's called Not All Men, so I
Uh,
mean,
they're
I'm
they're so
ready.
they're brilliant. I'm excited.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
let's rank this episode 6 degrees of freedom on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 being you hated it, 10 being you think it's a perfect episode. What should our scale be?
Toilet crystals.
Yeah, I was just gonna say rings of toilet crystals. God,
Oh my
when
God,
when
can
he
you imagine having to poop in that situation?
no,
Like, you're in a thing for 8 months. It looked like it was about the size of, like, I mean, not even like a small house, like not even an apartment. And you have to, like, go to the bathroom in there. Just, I'm sorry.
and that
It's just my worst nightmare.
well, and that guy was putting his bare hand in there. I'm like, okay, this dude is unhinged.
Yeah, it's like, this is proof that there's something wrong with him.
Okay, how many toilet crystals do you give 6 degrees of freedom?
I'm gonna give it an 8 because I thought the twist was really well done, and it just did a good job of having compelling characters, and I was interested in what was going to happen next, and I didn't figure anything out, so that was fun.
Yeah, I'm also going to give it an 8. That's what I wrote down. I thought it was a really solid episode. I like that it actually went into space and more sci-fi than any of the other episodes have. And it was really enjoyable. And I'm so excited for next week.
Yeah, me too.
So we will be back next week with is it the final episode now? Are there only going to be 7 or are there more?
I mean, 7 seems like an odd number.
No, there
Like,
there
shouldn't there be
probably
at least
are
8
more.
or
Yeah.
10?
Maybe
We
there
should
are
probably look
more.
that up.
Yeah.
I don't want to, like, be watching one and not realize it's the last one for a while.
I
and then be like,
know.
what? So, yeah, we better look that up.
Well, we will be recording episodes as long as they air for the Twilight Zone.
Yes.
And they were renewed for season 2. Hooray.
Woohoo!
So, until next time, we'll see you in the horror section.